Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. Okay, this time I want to take a look at this. This was a from 2010, a promotional $1 comic reprinting the first issue of the title, Agents of Atlas, from 2006. And this was for promotional for the publication of the collection, collecting the entire 6-issue miniseries. And I had never even heard of it until I picked this up a few months ago. Okay, this is Marvel's Greatest Comics, Agents of Atlas, #1 from 2010, with, written by Jeff Parker, with pencils by Leonard Kirk and inks by Chris Justice. And Agents of Atlas is a superhero team published by Marvel Comics. Their first lineup was composed of characters from otherwise unrelated stories published by Atlas in the 1950s. And the first appearance of them was in What If #9 from 1978. Then it was featured in a limited series, 6-issue limited series in 2006. That's what this is from. And later, an ongoing series in 2009 and again in 2019. In the 2019 run, the lineup was changed as the team was revamped, consisting of Asian characters. It's Asian and Asian American characters. And the creative team was also primarily Asian. And that sounds interesting too. But I like this concept here with with the Atlas characters, many of whom I have never heard of. Now, our main character and the team leader is Jimmy Woo. And if you are a long-time Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, you might recognize the name of Jimmy Woo as one of the members of S.H.I.E.L.D. But he was primarily, I guess, had like an office job. But before that, in the early and mid-50s, Atlas, the predecessor to Marvel, had a comic, I don't remember if it was its own title or part of an anthology. It was The Yellow Claw, and that storyline was about a Fu Manchu type. He was basically a swipe of Fu Manchu. And the main character, was the villain, the title character, I should say. The titular character, the Yellow Claw, was the villain. The hero was Jimmy Woo, who was an FBI agent who was constantly in pursuit of the Yellow Claw and constantly foiling his evil plots, while somehow never managing to actually apprehend him. And as I mentioned in the story here, Jimmy Woo moved from FBI to S.H.I.E.L.D. Decades ago, when they thought, when a villain popped up, and they initially thought it was the Yellow Claw because he was kind of disguised as the Yellow Claw in their context. But it was actually the arrival of the Mandarin, who was a similar villain, but primarily an Iron Man villain, who was used as a villain in a fake villain, actually, in the movie Iron Man 3. Okay, and so now we're going to take a look here, and I think this first part is a rehash of the events from from the What If. I don't know that. It doesn't say that, but I think it is. This is when the actual, in late 50s, the actual villain, the Yellow Claw, pops up, and the feds. Jimmy Woo is recruited from the ranks of field agents to organize and head up a new team to counter them. These are using other Marvel characters or Atlas characters from the 50s, of course, featuring Marvel Boy, who I'm slightly familiar with. I guess he is from Uranus. And the goddess Venus, who right here, who was had her own run and was had some superhero stories, and then was also a horror host at Atlas. And then these other couple other characters, like this robot M11, and a character called Gorilla Man. I am completely ignorant of. I don't know if they were ever actually used much. So M11 is the human robot, and so I don't know much about him. And even I went to Jan of the Jungle, who was a jungle character. Marvel Boy went to recruit Gorilla Man. And it turns out that in this first part, Gorilla Man, we don't find this out until later, is actually the person telling the story, this part of the story, and the golden history. And when they had to go up against the Yellow Claw and his minions with some troops, working with a former Nazi. The Yellow Claw was working with a former Nazi. They busted in, had some action stuff, worked against. They were, and Venus was able to dazzle all the enemy soldiers with her powers. But she was helpless against these shadow warriors. But Marvel Boy wasn't, and he used his bright light display and got rid of them. They snatched the German, but unfortunately, the Yellow Claw and his daughter, niece Suan, got away because they weren't there in the first place. But this is just a little side thing, because he says. You're seeing a hologram transmitted from our escape vehicle. But the word hologram didn't exist then. This takes place in 1957, remember. A hologram was an invention of the 1970s. It's just a little thing. But might go back to the 1960s. But the concept was there of a projection. So because the President Eisenhower had been snatched by the Yellow Claw. That's why they assembled this team. They saved the president, and then they were disbanded, and their adventures was classified, and nobody knew about it. Even though Gorilla Man was later was working for S.H.I.E.L.D., he could never talk about it. They never had contact with each other and all this other stuff. So here, this is when we find out that the person telling the story was Gorilla Man, and he is being interviewed by Dum Dum Dugan and of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Derek Kanata, who is from Wakanda. And then they bring Gorilla Man up to speed that Jimmy Woo, who they don't know because he's been behind a desk for ages. Dugan has been friends with him, they've known each other, and he's just found out about all this other stuff. And they but he assembled without authorization, assembled a team, went in on a strike team, went into this place called the Atlas Foundation, which nobody else at Shield has known anything about. And went in, and everyone was, all of the team was wiped out except Jimmy Woo, and he is severely injured. He's in the infirmary, and I think he's basically brain dead, and he is severely burned. So they're trying to find out what happened, what was behind all this. We don't know. And then Gorilla Man, he starts, what's this? He's trying to get into places unauthorized, and then smash through the wall, and it is M11, and Gorilla Man has grabbed guns and got intruder alert, and they're firing on the agents, but it's just rubber bullets, so no one is severely injured. And they smash in, get into the infirmary, but M11 takes over the life support of Jimmy Woo, and then suddenly, just as the agents are getting in, weird stuff starts happening. Their guns don't work, and some of them are whisked from their hands, and they are literally beamed up to a UFO. What the heck? Beamed up to a UFO. This is a rescue mission. And what the heck is going on here? Because apparently part of the underground facility has been made transparent by the beaming the technology from, and so that was the I guess he's known as now as the Uranian, used to be Marvel Boy, and it beamed up. It got with the technology able to save Jimmy Woo, but says saw his eyes flutter. Wonder if he'll be able to tell us what happened to him. Unlikely. He'd lost too many pathways. That means in his brain. I restored what was left from my last mental impression of him. That'll put him behind the times some. Hey, look, he's coming too. Good work, Bob. That Bob is the Marvel Boy Uranian. Welcome back, Jimmy Woo. And Jimmy Woo is recovered, and he is young again. And it's dun to be continued. Oh, what happens? What happens? I don't know, but I sure would like to find out. That was such a good little teaser for this miniseries and the graphic album. Like I said, I had never seen or heard of it before, but if I get a chance to get an inexpensive copy of that collection, I will definitely get it, because I liked what little bit I read there. It got me interested, hooked me, and I want to see more. I really like the use of these old characters. I like the robot, human robot, M11. It really reminds me of, and it looks like he was probably based on Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still. But that's the way it sounds. That's the way it looks. And I remember Venus. I think I have read a reprint of a couple of her stories way back when. But I mostly remember her because she was a creation of Bill Everett. And he used to draw her. And when he was and remember, Bill Everett created the Submariner in the 40s. And when he was doing the Submariner again in the 60s, or was it the early 70s? I think it was the early 70s. He, not just a few years before his death, he was doing some beautiful, beautiful artwork and interesting stories in the Submariner title. And he brought Venus back in an issue of that. And I covered that particular issue right here. And that was a lot of fun. And I've read some reprint stuff of the years and years ago of Marvel Boy, and that Marvel brought him back under a different title. Now he's completely different. So that is that little teaser for this season. I'll get it yet for this series, and it looks really, really interesting. So leave your comments down below. Let me know. Have you read this series, and is it as good as it seems like it's like the promise of it? Because I really like it. Just what I read here, I really like this. And some great artwork by Leonard Kirk. I mentioned him before and some other stuff. And so let me know what you think. Please like, share, subscribe. Do leave your comments. And remember, comics are art.